Hey team, welcome to this 30-day video challenge where I'm going to release 30 games in 30 days. These games are games that you can play with your team at any time. Some of them include skills, some of them include conditioning, and honestly, some of them are just tag games that you can play with your team. So make sure you tune in every single day this month where I'm going to release a new video with a brand new game. And before we get started, I'm Coach Hart, this is Building Better Baseball, and this is the best place for baseball education. So let's get into this 30-day video challenge. I'm super excited to bring you these games. Let's get started. Hey team, welcome to day 30 of this 30-day challenge. It's the last day, and hopefully I saved the best game for last. Today we're going over a skills circuit that you can do, and there's a few ways that you can do this, and we'll dive into that today. For ages, I think anybody can do this. This is a great all-around thing to do at practice. You can do it like during practice, you can do it after practice. It's just like a little competition that you can do. Equipment, there's a lot of equipment that you're going to need, but I can't really specifically say which ones because it's going to be up to you how you want to do it. Where you're going to play, I think that you need as much space as possible. So depending on how you do it, you can do it in the outfield alone. You can do it on the whole entire field. It's really up to you. And this is kind of like a blueprint that you can do that where you can just fill in the different types of activities that you can do for your team. So how you do it, if you know what a circuit is, it's kind of something that you do one activity after another, and you can't progress into the next activity until you complete the first one or the previous one. So that's kind of what we're doing today. So the skills circuit, you're going to have a certain number of activities that the kids are going to have to go through, and they can't progress to the next activity until they complete the first one, right? First thing you're going to have to do, you're going to have to find out how many activities you want to do. If you're doing a center of a circuit, you can do about 3 or 4 activities. If you're doing the whole entire team, doing it all at once, you can have up to 6, 7. It's really as much as you want, right? They can be as small or as large as you want. And I'm going to go through a couple of examples today. So let's go over first the 2 types of ways that you can do it. You can do either a timed circuit where you have one player going through all of the centers or all of the activities, and by the time that they end, you stop the watch and they have a certain time, and the winner is going to be whoever completes the circuit the fastest. That's one way that you could do it. And the second way that you can do it is you could have 2 players racing or 2 or 3 players racing through to see who finishes first. You're going to have to kind of orchestrate or set up the centers so nobody is really interfering with each other. If you're having a target throw, you can't have 2 people throwing at the same target, because if one person knocks it over, then the other person can't knock it over too, right? So you're gonna have to find different activities where each player can do it individually, but they're still racing through, and whoever completes the race first is the winner. But I'm gonna go through a couple of examples of activities that you can do. And the first one, like I just said, is any target throw. A popular one is a ball on a tee. You would have, let's say the first person would start right here, right? And the number 1 activity would be here, number 2 would be here, number 3 here, number 4 here, and so on and so forth, right? So however many activities you want to set up is up to you. The first one would start here. This is the starting line, right? So this is the first person. They would go to activity number 1, which would be a ball on a tee. So let's say the ball is set up on the tee here, and there's a net behind just to catch any of the baseballs that they throw and they miss. They have to throw the ball at the tee and try and knock the ball off of the tee. So they're throwing. You have a bucket of balls right next to them for them to grab from. And once they hit the ball off of the tee, then they can move on to the second activity. Or another one is a plastic water bottle. You could set up a plastic water bottle on like something that can't break. So not a bucket, because you don't want your kids to put a hole in the bucket, right? But you can set up a plastic water bottle any way that you want. They could throw and try to knock over a plastic water bottle. Another one is just a regular target on a net. If you have a regular net, they sometimes come with a target that you can put on. And when they hit the target, whatever that target is, then they can move on to the second activity. Another idea is a bat balance for 10 seconds, right? So they would move on to the second activity. They would pick up the bat and they would have to balance it like this right? They would have to balance it for a certain number of seconds, however many you want. So 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 5 seconds. As soon as they balance the bat as long as they can, or the certain number of seconds that you designate, then they can move on to the third activity. And a third idea is throw into a bucket. So let's say that you set up a bucket all the way out here, and they have to throw the ball into the bucket. Obviously, that's pretty difficult, so I would save that for the older kids when they have some more accuracy. Or you could just put the bucket really close where they have to almost throw it into the bucket, right? So once they get it into the bucket, then they can move on to the fourth activity. A fourth idea is they have to pitch a strike. So you could do another target. You could set up a catcher or a coach catching with a catcher's mitt. They have to throw a strike into the strike zone wherever the catcher is. Once they throw a strike, they move on to another activity, right? A different idea for another activity is pepper to a target or bunting to a target. So you might have to do it on the dirt. Let's say that after 4, you go here to a bunting activity or a pepper activity, right? Where a coach is sitting there tossing you balls and you have to do pepper where you tap it and you have to try and get it into a circle that's drawn into the dirt, or you have to hit a cone down or something like that, or a bunting, right? So you can do a bunting into a cone or into a circle or into an area. Once you get the ball into that area, you move on to the next activity. Another idea is to run the bases. So let's say that the first activity you start here. This is where the circuit starts. You have to run all the way around the bases to start, and then you run all the way to activity number 2, which is the target throw. So running the bases is another activity that you can do. Another one is rapid fire wiffle ball catches. So how this works is if you have the little wiffle golf balls, those would be great to use. If you just have regular wiffle balls, you could use those. But for this activity, you don't have any glove, right? You catch it with your hand, or the players catch it with their hand, and they have to catch a certain number of balls in a row. So let's say 10 balls. You are literally sitting there rapid fire, throw, and they are catching and drop, catch, drop, catch, drop. So they're not tossing it. They're not taking a long time. They're literally catch, drop, catch, drop, catch, drop. And if they catch 10 in a row, then they can move on to the next activity, right? So that's another idea. You could have an agility ladder. So let's say that after they run the bases, they have to run through an agility ladder and they have to do a certain foot pattern through the agility ladder. So that's another idea. And the last idea I have is just taking their glove and tossing the ball up and catching it some sort of special way, like behind the back. So they toss it up and they have to catch it behind their back. Or they toss it up and they have to catch it through their legs with their glove under their leg or something like that. Or they have to catch it with their opposite hand or something like that. So that's another activity that you could do where they toss it up and they have to maybe catch it in their hat or something like that, right? So this is kind of the idea of the skills circuit where you set up a certain number of activities and they have a starting line and they just complete each activity, and once they finish all the activities in the circuit, then the timer stops and they're done, and whoever does the fastest time is the winner, or whoever wins the race and finishes first is the winner, right? So this takes a lot of setup if you want to do a lot of activities throughout the whole field. If you want to do it kind of smaller, you could have different smaller activities, maybe like 4 of them in a center, but there's a whole bunch of different ways that you could do this, and you could do a full team, you can do like just partners or whatever, right? So this is a skills circuit, and you could really think of any skill or activity that you want to set up, but the whole idea is they progress through, and once they complete one, then they can move on to the other. This is the last day of the 30-day challenge. This is day 30. This is a skills circuit. I hope you enjoyed, and I really enjoyed making all of these videos for you. I really tried to focus on different age groups and different games that you can do. Some of them were conditioning, some of them were skills work. I really tried to cover everything, all sorts of different things that you can do. So hopefully you got a whole bunch of new ideas for your practices, and you can really try to just do some different things at practices rather than just going through the same old things. Like I said, I really enjoyed doing this 30-day challenge. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Hopefully you have new ideas. I will be back on my same cadence of 1 video a week, and I will see you next week with a brand new video. So I hope you enjoyed today's game, and I hope I explained it in a way that you understand and that you can explain it to your team so you can incorporate it into your practices. This is just another game that you can add to your practice plans to have some fun during your practices with your youth baseball team. Before you go, don't forget to grab your free 2-hour practice plan. I made it just for you to help you out in your practice plans. And in the description below, you'll also see a free baseball equipment sizing guide. There's how to get more playing time. There's how to do batting practice. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I made for you for free. Be sure to grab it before you go. It's all down in the description. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember, this is Building Better Baseball. I'm Coach Hart, and I'll see you next time.